What the fuck is blockchain and crypto? Because we have no idea.
Nobody is an expert in crypto. It is changing so rapidly.
What is the difference between unregulated and decentralized?
I love that you just taught us the phrase asymmetrical upside.
So fiat is normal money.
We call it old money, Lundie.
No one ever told a man not to eat his avocado
Exactly.
toast.
So what are other use cases for blockchain outside of crypto?
You said NFT, and that's another buzzword.
Tell us, why should women care about cryptocurrency and blockchain?
Because it's money, and money is power.
I got a lifetime of knowledge.
Let me call Mimi.
Welcome to Actual Experts. My name is Caitlin.
And I'm Lundie.
We don't have all the answers, so we're going to ask the questions.
And today we are getting into blockchain with actual expert Elaine Asher, who is the co-founder of Eve Wealth, a crypto investment platform that's focused on women. Truly, what the fuck is blockchain?
Truly, what the fuck is blockchain? My sister sent me
so
such a funny
excited to
message.
get into it.
I know. Wait, I need to pull this up. She sent me a hilarious message. She said, "What is blockchain? It sounds like a video game." I said, "Yes, it does. That is correct."
It does sound like a video game. Yeah, my understanding of what blockchain is at this stage, because I'm the one going in blind,
Yeah.
and truly I am going in blind, is that crypto runs on blockchain, which is a type of technology. They are not the same.
No.
Crypto and blockchain are not the same, and Bitcoin
Yes.
is a type of crypto,
Yep. That's true.
and crypto runs on blockchain. So they are not all the same thing, contrary to what I probably once believed.
Yes.
And that's about the extent of what I know.
Well, that's good. I think that I know probably more than the average person on this, only because Steven and I used to send money for rent from Canada to South Africa, and sometimes it could take up to 10 business days for us to be able to send money over because it's hard to move money in and out of South Africa. And we used crypto to move our money, and it was so crazy. We were able to move it within like 3 hours from Canada over. Ask me to explain logistically how that worked, other than me just pressing some buttons on the computer. Couldn't tell you, but very excited.
Although moving money in and out of Africa is particularly slow, moving money between the US and Canada is slow. Moving money anywhere is slow. It's like slower than it should be. And even like the money movement within the US prior to Venmo, or I guess Zelle now, which is kind of like a bank to bank transfer, like international wire transfers are slow and cumbersome and expensive. So supposedly blockchain and crypto,
Yes.
whatever the difference between those is a good solution to that. But you bought Bitcoin.
I did. I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum.
And Ethereum is another
years
type
ago?
of cryptocurrency.
It's another type of cryptocurrency. I bought it 6 years ago now, and it's so volatile. I just bought it, put it to the side, and forgot about it, is how I've managed that. Yeah.
I think I remember when you did that, and I was like, okay, good for you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I probably
But it
should
is
have.
funny,
I
I
mean,
was-
just to diversify. But
Totally.
I
It is so interesting. If you were to ask us, how does Visa and MasterCard send money around the world? No one could tell you. No one would be like, let me break this down. But it's the best way that I understand it is each of those, the way you send money is, think of it like rails on a track, on a train track. And your money starts in one spot, and it can take the Visa train rail, it can take a MasterCard train rail, or it can take a blockchain rail. The only difference between blockchain and Visa and MasterCard is that blockchain doesn't go through central banking, meaning it doesn't go through JP Morgan, it doesn't go through Goldman Sachs or HSBC or whatever hurdles along the way. It just goes from one account directly to the other account.
And that makes sense. But isn't the money on my train crypto, or is it dollars?
Yes. So this is okay. Wait, this is good because I want to take this into the stats.
Please,
Okay.
please.
So only 5% of crypto users are women globally, which is a crazy number. And
That is a crazy number.
very interested to have this conversation with Elaine because she's so focused on getting more women into crypto. And what I'm really nervous about is that this is just this other big wealth creation potential that men are going to understand more than women, because we are like, we've got so much going on in our lives. There's so much for us to think about. We just don't have the time to wrap our heads around it. But the more reading I did on this, I realized women should actually touch this because it is such a huge wealth creation and we should have equal access to that wealth creation. And it's really about educating ourselves on the topic.
Yes, and my like candid response to that would be, if it's not a quote unquote proven way to increase your wealth, because to your point previously, it's so volatile, you don't actually
Totally.
know if Bitcoin is up or down, then it's like, isn't it potentially a riskier place to put your money? And women actually are better off in stable like fiat or like normal money markets, unless you stand to make much more with crypto, but then you're risking a lot more also. So that would be my question, is like, should the everyday woman who has $5,000 to invest, why should they go crypto?
Totally.
And that's what Elaine's all about. So I am
Totally.
looking forward to getting into that with her.
Exactly. Eager
Yeah.
to get started. um, and then the next one is that the blockchain market size is projected to reach $1.4 trillion by 2030. So in the next 5 years, which is a lot. So it's a big market to get your fingers into. And then to that point, in 2024, stablecoins moved 15.6 trillion in value, putting stablecoins transaction volume on par with Visa. So when we're talking about Visa moving money around the world and payments happening, stablecoins did the same amount in 2024, which is crazy. And then if you think about it, if only 5% of that is being done by women, there's again so much money being moved by men that we aren't taking a piece of the pie. I think a lot of us talk about crypto as being something scary and like, well, what if terrorists are using it and bad people are moving their money with crypto and all these things are happening? Lundie's face right now. She's like,
never
never
thought that in my life. Never even crossed my mind.
Yes, exactly. Okay.
Some people might, though.
Some
be
people
worried
might.
about that. But terrorists move money with normal money all the time. So
Exactly.
No.
It's happening no matter what.
It would be crypto to me is scarier because A, I don't understand it, and B, in my mind, my perception is that I stand to lose more money through crypto
Yes.
than I do in traditional markets. And because it's this new and figurative thing, although literally credit is a figurative thing. A credit card is not real money, tangible cash either. That to me makes it seem like it could just like poof, go away tomorrow, and then what? It's like in my mind, I'm like, who is deciding this? Like who
Yes.
is, and I know that's comparable to like who decides what's happening on the stock market, but that's just been around for so long, and that is truly what makes the world go around. So I know a lot of people think crypto is like the second coming of money markets, and it probably is, and I'm probably behind on the times, but
No.
it's scarier because it's like yet to be like socially accepted as like the next thing, in my opinion.
No, I agree. It still seems like this crazy thing that like dudes behind their compute like 15 screens and in their basements are dealing with, which
Like
obviously now
wild.
we're speaking, now we're speaking to Elaine. So it's obviously not that. That's just this like weird image we have in our heads. But we spoke about briefly stablecoin. A stablecoin is a type of cryptocurrency that is designed to keep its value stable instead of bouncing up and down like Bitcoin and Ethereum. A stable coin is tied or pegged to something more steady, usually a government currency like the US dollar or euro, and sometimes even a commodity like gold. The reason why it matters is it makes it easier to send money around the world quickly without needing banks. So that's how we moved our money from Canada to South Africa.
Okay, I have so many questions, but also for Elaine, but just generally, how does USDC become money that I can buy my plane ticket? Like,
Totally.
how do I physically now spend that to get something, a product or a service that I need like in real life?
It's interesting. Some places will let you pay with it, but that's kind of rare. But think about it in similar as like your app where you might buy your stocks is you literally place an order and say, hey, I want to convert $100 worth of USDC. And then you just press sell. And there are marketplaces online that do that transfer for you automatically.
Or like I want to transfer US dollars to South African Rand. So I go to wise.com and I literally purchase Rand with my dollars and then it sends me Rand.
Exactly. It works the very,
Okay.
very similar way. Yeah.
Such a different, truly such
So
a different
different.
world, and for no reason other than exactly just like lack of understanding. So okay, tell us about Elaine, our actual
Okay,
expert.
Elaine. So Elaine Asher is co-founder and chief strategy officer for Eve Wealth, a new digital asset investing platform open to all, but geared specifically towards women, featuring the extensive education and robust community that women want in order to feel more confident investing in this new asset class. Eve Wealth is the realization of her dream to financially empower more women through investing in digital assets. Prior to falling down the crypto rabbit hole, Elaine was vice president at JP Morgan's private wealth management division. She also served as the West Coast director for Plum Alley, a women's angel investing collective.
Amazing. Can't
I
wait to
know.
talk to her. She was introduced to us from Mimi, who's Caitlin and my mentor.
Yes.
And Mimi said she was going to be fab. So
Yeah.
can't wait to chat to her. Let's bring her on.
Woohoo.
Please note that this pod is for educational purposes only. Nothing we say should be taken as financial, legal, or medical advice. Please do your own research, and when in doubt, ask an actual expert.
And Mimi is such a dear friend.
She's the best.
Oh my God, she's awesome. She's such a great connector. And also like unafraid. Like
Unafraid is the best way to describe her because we worked with Mimi for over a year or just about a year. She was advisor at the firm both Lundie and I were working for. And she would suggest us to do stuff and we'd be like, okay, but how do we do that? And she'd be like, well, you just do it. Just do it. Just message them.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
there's
okay.
you don't take no for an answer with Mimi. She's like a figure it out. Yeah.
She's like unafraid to ask too. She's like,
Totally.
no, of course I'm going to ask somebody so-and-so for something. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
Well,
It was so
you
funny.
came highly, highly, highly recommended from her when we
you're
were saying
so
we're
kind.
looking to speak to a more actual expert. She said, you need to speak to Elaine about blockchain. She said, I know just the person. So we're very excited to get into it with you.
And there's
Thanks for
actually
having
also another overlap. So tomorrow we're speaking to Cameron Rogers, who's
Oh my God, I love Cam.
Yes.
Oh my God, tell her I said hi.
I will.
She's the best.
She's so
awesome.
cool. Yeah. So we're doing What the Fuck is Investing with her.
Yes.
And so we're doing 2 sessions with her. The first one is starting out. So if you've never done it before, and then I'm going to invest $5,000 live with her on the call.
Oh my God.
And then
fun.
we're going to do another one where it's, okay, you're past the 5K, you have 50K, like what, and you can have a few different buckets. What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, no, it's so funny. I actually just wrote an article, blog post that I need to publish that, as we've been doing this, trying to get women to invest in crypto, we've realized we have to take a step way, way back and be like, how to invest and how to think about investing in general.
Right.
Because the first question everyone asks is, well, how much should I put in crypto? Like a rule of thumb is 1% to 5% of your investable assets, your whole portfolio. And they're like, what's my portfolio? You're like, okay, let's take a step back.
Totally.
Exactly.
Talk about
Exactly.
diversification. Yeah. So,
Totally.
Cam's the best.
Yeah, it's timed so well. Going back to back like this is perfect.
Awesome.
But we can jump right into it. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of context before we go in. So the way we run every single episode is that one of us will do the research for that episode. So for this episode, that was me. And Lundie is going to come in what we say blind.
The newbie.
As the relative newbie, the voice of the listener, and she will stop us and say, you just said a word I've never heard of in my life. Like that.
I'm so confused. Help me out. Exactly. So
Welcome
there might be
to
a lot of
crypto.
that.
There's a lot of slang.
Exactly. So that will be the flow, but really this will be super relaxed conversation. The idea is it's meant to be like we're sitting around the dinner table or sitting on the couch chatting. Yeah.
Yes. Amazing.
Okay. What we really wanted to get to know you a bit more is understand how you shifted and decided to shift your career from traditional finance into digital assets, because it seems like a rare step for a lot of women specifically.
Yes. Happy to share that. So I was working at JP Morgan in the private wealth group in San Francisco. And one of the things I noticed working with ultra high net worth and high net worth individuals was the access they had to investments that could make you a lot of money. And we call that asymmetric upside return. And I, as an individual investor, couldn't write a 7-figure check or didn't know Mark Zuckerberg's college roommate to get into the next hot startup deal. But when I saw Bitcoin, I thought, now this is something that has that same asymmetric upside potential as a lot of other alternative assets like venture or private equity, et cetera. And it's open to anybody who can figure it out. And I have to thank two very good friends who were also clients of mine at the time. They made me buy Bitcoin in 2013. I thank them every day. I wish I had bought more. And I kind of forgot about it. And then fast forward to 2017, JP Morgan was not thrilled to have them as clients simply because of their crypto holdings. Back then, they didn't really want clients whose quote unquote source of wealth was from crypto. But in that time between 2013 and 2017, I had seen their wealth just balloon. And so I had to fall down the crypto rabbit hole and learn everything I could about Bitcoin and crypto so that I could defend them as clients. And as I went through that education and learning journey process, I just got hooked and decided I really wanted to work in this industry. So that began my crypto journey. And it was quite a transition from JP Morgan, which is very formal, had to wear a suit and heels every day, to showing up in a warehouse where there may or may not have been some rodents and doing some hoodies.
I love it. And I love that you just taught us the phrase asymmetrical upside, because just before this, Lundie and I were talking about what a big market that it's growing into, that crypto is growing into, and how it's a bit more accessible in the exact way that you were just saying. And we talked about, we did a few weeks ago, what the fuck is venture capital? And at the end, we asked, hey, who can get in on this? Like, how can people do this? And the answer was, you could join a syndicate or do some like angel investing, go on to WeFunder platforms. But to your point, on a WeFunder or crowdfunding platform, you're not going to have access to Mark Zuckerberg's college roommates, new startup it's just not there. So that phrase, I'm so glad we know this now, because it will really help us with this conversation.
I usually accompany it with a hand motion of like up and to the right.
Exactly. The Nike swish. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So that, I think, is a great segue for us to start at the basics, because it sounds like you started at the basics when you kicked off, is understanding what the fuck is blockchain and crypto, because we have no idea. We tried to, hilariously, Lundie and I tried to explain it to each other prior to this. We were like, okay, we could either be so wrong or very misleading.
Just so much. I think a lot of people, myself included, think that they're one and the same. Blockchain and crypto are the same thing. Think that Bitcoin or Ethereum or a stable coin or cryptocurrency is all the same, and it's my understanding that they are actually not, and that is why you are here today. We're so excited to learn from you.
No, I'm so excited. And crypto is not easy to understand. So it is slightly complicated, but one of the things that I like to say is you just need to know enough to then take the plunge, because I have seen this firsthand, that the minute you have a little skin in the game, whether you've invested a little bit in crypto or you've played around with a decentralized app or you've used crypto, then you're much more incentivized to go back and learn even more. So you don't have to be an expert. Nobody is an expert in crypto. I mean, I am not an expert in crypto. It is changing so rapidly and so quickly. It's evolving technology. It is very brand new, nascent technology that is constantly and rapidly evolving. So it's impossible to stay up to date on everything that's happening. But to take a step back, blockchain is essentially, the phrase is distributed ledger technology. It is essentially, like, the easiest way to think about it is like a digital notebook or a digital ledger that everybody can see and agree on, but nobody can erase or secretly change anything in it. But instead of being stored in one place, like one centralized database, like a bank or a bank's computer, copies of this notebook or ledger live on thousands and thousands and thousands of computers all around the world who run something called nodes to secure the network.
So what's a node? A node is just a computer that helps keep the blockchain honest. It checks transaction, stores the ledger, and makes sure no one cheats. Basically, what keeps everything secure without needing a bank. Okay, back to Elaine.
And so every time something new is written down in this notebook or ledger, like a payment or a contract or transferring of a title, it's added to a new page in the notebook. Once it's there, it can't be erased, can't be changed, it's permanent. There's a phrase you'll hear a lot in crypto or blockchain called immutable. I like to think of it like a fly in amber, like that is never going to change. And because everybody has a same copy of the same notebook or same ledger, they can all instantly check that what's written is true. Like, a simple way to think about it is if I give you 10, like the easiest way to give you money is to hand you a $10 bill. Like it's a bearer instrument. I had it, now you have it. The way we use money today is through banks. And I tell my bank, I want to send you money. My bank checks that I have it. My bank sends it to your bank. Your bank tells it it's arrived. Now you have the money. And that is all done through banking computer systems, which are centralized. So with something like Bitcoin, which runs on the Bitcoin blockchain, which is confusing, and I should say that the way to think about blockchain versus crypto, blockchain is like the car and crypto is the gas you need to access the blockchain. So you need to have cryptocurrency to access different blockchains to do things on them. Bitcoin is especially confusing because it is called the Bitcoin blockchain, and the cryptocurrency you use to access it is also called Bitcoin. Other cryptocurrencies that you may be familiar with, Ethereum is another blockchain, and its cryptocurrency is ETH. Chainlink is another one. Its cryptocurrency is Link. So there's associated cryptocurrencies with the blockchains, and that's how you access and use them.
So are these names similar to like a stock on the stock market? The like if you
The
were
ticker.
to buy yeah, exactly.
Yeah, essentially that's what everybody calls them is the tokens. Instead of tickers, they call them tokens or the token symbols. And
So the tokens are kind of like shares in a company to a degree.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No, you can, and we'll get to this later, but you can trade, you can own fractions of them. They're highly divisible, so it's not a one-to-one share. But yes, people will say, I own one Bitcoin. And you can check any number of websites that will tell you what the price of one Bitcoin is that given day. I think we're somewhere around 114K today. But back to the example of sending money as opposed to going through a bank or as opposed to handing you a $10 bill, I would, using my phone or the internet, you have a wallet is the way you maintain your own crypto is through a wallet, which has a public-facing string of numbers and letters and a private-facing string of numbers and letters that only I know. So I would broadcast to the network that I am going to send you $10. The transaction would go through, and this is one of the amazing things about crypto, is that it is very fast, very low cost, and there's no middleman. So there's no bank in between. This is like peer-to-peer transfer of money. So I send you the $10 in Bitcoin. The network verifies that I have it, verifies that the transfer has been made, and verifies that you now have it. And that transaction is recorded in a block that is then added to the blockchain. And there's a lot of confusing technical pieces that go on behind that we probably don't have time to go into now. And again, it's not something you really need to know all the ins and outs of to understand the concept of peer-to-peer transfer of value. And it's also important to note, like the Bitcoin white paper, which was the foundation that wrote the code for the software that is the Bitcoin blockchain, was truly revolutionary when it was first published back in 2008, because it solved something that modern technology had not been able to solve yet, which is called the double spend problem. So when you go to a website and you get the error message and it says like 404 error, when the internet was first being created, there was a code for digital money. I think it was like 403. But nobody could ever figure out how to solve this double spend problem, which means, when you send somebody a file or a picture or a PDF, they can copy it and send 1 million copies all over the world.
Yeah.
So that was the challenge with money. You couldn't send digital money without somebody being able to copy it and send it all over the world. The technology that is Bitcoin solved that problem by this verification system of decentralized computers all over the world preventing a double spend from happening. If somebody tried to resend that money, the network of nodes and computers around the world would reject that transaction and not allow it to happen.
And is that because they can see it's on the ledger somewhere and say, hey, this has already been spent. Caitlin already sent this to Lundie.
Exactly.
And so she can't send it again to Elaine.
Exactly.
The
so
same money.
it's all, because everybody
Why
has the
not,
same
though?
copy of everything. So it's all transparent, fully transparent.
Why can't if Elaine sent Caitlin $10, why can Caitlin not send Lundie that $10?
She can now because it's hers. but it wouldn't be mine anymore. And so
Sure.
if I tried to send that same $10 to 100
It's been
people,
sent.
it's been sent,
I
and
see.
there's a transaction recorded associated with that specific $10, and it would be rejected by the network. And this is
So
getting down into a little bit of the
the
technological
nitty-gritty.
weeds, but that's essentially how it works. And I think one of the truly remarkable things about it is, like, it is slow to send money today in the traditional banking system. I know you guys have spent time in Africa, you know that well, that if you tried to send $1 billion from the United States to Africa, it would take days and it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what the foreign exchange rate is. But with Bitcoin, and so there was one of the largest transactions ever recorded was, I think, in April of 2020. Somebody sent $1 billion of Bitcoin, and it took 10 minutes.
Oh my
And
gosh.
it cost less than $1.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
crazy. I told Lundie before this, my husband and I, we were living in South Africa at the time. And so we would send our money for rent from Canada to South Africa using stable coins. But it still wasn't easy though, because it's as in the system we were using, we still had to buy here, load it into this wallet, move it to that wallet, pull it down. It still wasn't a simple solution. But to your point of speed and cost, it was amazing. It happened within 3 hours. We were getting the rates that were on Google versus the rates the banks that were giving us that was way less.
wow.
So it was fantastic, but to your point, cost and speed, but
Yeah.
the ease wasn't fully there for us yet.
Agreed. And it's not quite there yet in many instances, because if you want to spend, if you want to take it off of the blockchain and spend in your local fiat currency, you still need that fiat on-ramp and off-ramp to get out of crypto and back into your local currency. But I think more and more, especially with the rise of stablecoins, we're going to see people not going back out to fiat. They are going to just spend their stablecoins and not need their local currency as much.
Just
So
a couple
fiat-
quick clarification questions, because there's a couple of terms being thrown around. So fiat is normal money, that being a dollar, a euro, a
Exactly.
pound, a
Yes.
peso. Let's call it
Exactly.
normal money.
Normal
Okay, so that's
money.
called fiat currency.
We call it old money, Lundie.
Old money.
Old money.
Okay, just taking it back to the blockchain. You mentioned that each of these cryptocurrencies get added to a blockchain. So there's not just one blockchain like the internet. There's many
Correct.
blockchains. It's not the internet.
Correct.
There's many of them.
Yes, there are many, 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 many different blockchains. And again, this is getting a little inside baseball, but there are some that are called layer ones. There are some that are called layer twos, where there are cryptocurrencies, running on top of an existing layer one. So it gets a little confusing, but essentially they're all trying to do different things and solve different problems. So Bitcoin is primarily concerned with security. So there are people who thought that 10 minutes for a transaction is too slow. So they have created another blockchain that might, in some people's opinions, sacrifice a little bit of security to increase speed. So these are all different projects. The way I think about cryptocurrencies and blockchains in general is they're mostly early stage tech startups trying to solve different problems, and they're all doing different things. Some of them are competing to try to solve the same thing, but if you think about it, like all the different apps on your phone, Uber and Airbnb and Instacart, and all those different types of things, people are also trying to build on blockchains and using crypto. And the big differentiator is, when we talk about blockchain and crypto, we're talking about decentralization. So all of those apps I just listed are centralized versions, where in crypto terms, we call it the rent-seeking middleman. And we are looking to disrupt and go around the rent-seeking middleman and go peer-to-peer. So just like in the example of the peer-to-peer transfer of that $10, other blockchains and cryptos are trying to solve things in a decentralized manner. This doesn't exist yet, but I'm sure someone's working on it. A decentralized Uber. You have a car, I need a ride, we broadcast it to the network, I don't pay anybody in the middle, I pay you. So things like that are, when you think about blockchains.
Interesting. In my mind, blockchain was the equivalent of one figurative internet. So I'm
Blockchain is
starting
more like
to-
the technology, just like
Yeah. Okay.
overarching technology.
But many of them and many layers, like many websites. I'm just trying to have a
Exactly.
comparable visualization. Makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So in that example, and you were saying a lot of the different blockchains are solving for different things. How do you know which one to use? How do you, Elaine, know, okay, this one solves for speed, this one solves for safety? In the same way, some people might feel more comfortable in your Uber example using Uber over Lyft, or some people prefer Lyft over Uber because they know one that's driver's better, or whatever the reason is. How would you know, and where would you go to look to see, oh, which blockchain should I use?
I mean, they will all tell you that they are the best and the fastest and the cheapest. And again, it depends on what you're trying to solve. If you are a giant asset manager and you want to be able to move billions of dollars between you and another asset manager, you're probably going to be most concerned about security and less concerned about speed. But if I am trying to send a micropayment to somebody on X or Twitter that I liked their comment, I'm less concerned about security. I'm more concerned about speed. So I might use a different cryptocurrency or a different blockchain. And it really comes down to playing around and experimenting with actually using the different cryptos and the different apps. We call them dApps, decentralized apps. A good example is if you've ever traded stocks on like Schwab or E-Trade or something like that. So in crypto, there are a lot of centralized exchanges you've probably heard of, like Coinbase or Gemini or Kraken. There are a whole bunch of cryptocurrency projects built on blockchain for decentralized cryptocurrency exchanges, where again, it's peer-to-peer. So instead of Coinbase in the middle taking a fee and taking a cut whenever you want to buy a specific crypto, you go into this, it's called DEXs. You go into this DEX and you say, who wants to sell me some crypto and what's your price? And it's just peer-to-peer.
Interesting.
Like a Craigslist for crypto.
Kind of, yeah, exactly.
And why would someone use Coinbase over a DEX? It's
Because
just personal preference, or?
It's personal preference, but it's also user experience. And crypto is still not that user-friendly, and it is still very DIY. This is something that I'm trying to solve with a company I'm working on, which you can talk about later, but it is still really, there's a phrase in crypto like, be your own bank. A lot of people don't want to be their own bank because it's a lot of responsibility and it's stressful to move money that you cannot ever get back if you mess it up. So that's why somebody would use a Coinbase instead of going to something like Uniswap, because they're just more comfortable with a centralized exchange where where you might be able to get a customer service person on the line, or you might not.
Sure.
But at least there's that option. Okay.
So there's multiple levels of not necessarily regulation, because cryptocurrency is unregulated. Unregulated or myth bust.
Yes.
Not unregulated, it's decentralized. What is the difference between being unregulated and being decentralized?
So they're two completely separate things. Decentralized no, it's totally fine. It's very confusing, but decentralized just means that nobody controls it. So it is, again, run by thousands of computers around the world. No one entity, no one government, no one person controls it. So that's the decentralized part of it. Regulation, it's so funny. I remember when I was first asking the friends who got me into crypto, I was like, so who regulates it? And they said, nobody. I was like, ooh, tell me more. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of a libertarian streak where I feel like nobody should be able to tell me what I can and can't do with my own money. And yet everywhere you turn, someone's telling you what you can and can't do. Oh, you want to Venmo a friend $2,000? Nope, that's too much. That's going to take 5 days. So things like that, or that's a fee.
Right.
So anyway, technically no government controls crypto. However, obviously, as we've seen a lot in the news, every single government around the world is trying to regulate it. And what that means is they're passing different laws in different countries around how it will be taxed, how it will be treated, whether is it a security, is it a commodity. A lot of regulation, and this is more a philosophical debate, but like, do you believe in government regulation or not? So if you do, and an organization like the SEC's primary goal is to protect investors. So yes, it needs to be regulated because there are a lot of scams out there. And one of the biggest challenges in the past couple of years, previous administrations, is the United States government was very hostile to crypto. and was refusing to give clear guidance on what the crypto industry could and couldn't do, what you could or couldn't build. And as a result, a lot of crypto companies moved offshore and set up shop elsewhere because it was just more regulatorily friendly for them to build their businesses there, which is bad for the American economy and bad for job creation and bad for innovation in our country, in my opinion. So in this current administration, they have made a big push to be a crypto superpower and provide clear guidance and favorable regulation. The industry is not going to get everything they want because regulation still is meant to put guardrails around what you can and can't do.
What's the big
So
thing
helpful.
that's changed in the regulation? Because I've seen the headlines of new regulations coming out, JP Morgan getting involved. It seems like there's a lot more movement. Stripe bought Bridge. It seems
Yes,
like there's a
that's a
lot
huge deal.
happening,
Yeah.
which is a big deal. And
So I will caveat that I am not a regulatory expert. I can introduce you to a million different people who are. So I know the high level that
yeah, high level is perfect.
Yeah,
Just
well,
like what's the big deal? I guess is the question. there.
one of the big deals is like the U.S. government and its regulatory bodies have said, we are open for business. Do not be afraid. Come talk to us. Where previously what they had been doing is not providing clear guidance and then going out and suing people or suing firms or arresting founders or slapping them with lawsuits. That has changed. So that in and of itself is a big shift.
Yeah.
There's specific legislation that I honestly don't know the full details about. There's an infrastructure bill coming up that's called the Clarity Act that the industry is very excited about. One of the big ones that recently passed is called the Genius Act, which allows companies to provide stablecoins and to potentially, there's some fighting over it right now, potentially provide yield to people holding those stablecoins. The traditional financial system is obviously very upset about that because yield you can generate on stablecoins is typically much higher than what you're getting in a savings account at your local bank.
Okay.
So it's just more, there's this phrase we've been using forever, like we want regulatory clarity, we want regulatory clarity. It's finally here. And
Just
now
like
it's
tell
like,
us what we can or can't do. It's not that you
Exactly.
want to do it all.
right, just tell us.
Right.
Like as
Totally.
an
That
industry,
makes sense.
just tell us, we will abide by it, but it's been so like amorphous for so long that you never knew what you could or couldn't do.
Can I ask, do you know what other geography outside of the US is like the friendly? What's the largest country?
So a lot of people
Crypto-wise,
a lot
China.
of countries have been competing for that. The Middle East and Dubai has a very large crypto center. The entire crypto industry is in Singapore this week for a huge conference called Token 2049. Singapore is a hotbed of crypto. A lot of places where you've similarly seen other offshore financial services set up, the Caymans, Bermuda's trying. Puerto Rico was interestingly a big crypto hotbed for a while because they passed a no capital gains tax on crypto if you become a Puerto Rican resident. So a lot of people who made a lot of money in the early days of crypto all moved to Puerto Rico.
Interesting.
Could be worse places to
Yeah,
live.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so we spoke about blockchain as the technology, as the car that things move in, and crypto is the gas that makes the car move and how you go along. We've heard, though, other phrases tied to blockchain, like smart contracts, for example.
Yeah.
So what are other use cases for blockchain outside of crypto?
Yeah. No, it's a great question. And I think we do get caught up in, that price went up that much and that token moved that much. And there really are plenty of real world use cases for blockchain technology, which, one of the most straightforward is supply chain transparency. And so if you're Walmart or like a big food service provider, you can track your food from farm to store and on a blockchain so that, for example, if there's like a salmonella outbreak in something in like lettuce or eggs or whatever, they can track back exactly where it came from, exactly where all the potentially infected lettuce went, and then do a much more efficient recall because they've had the information on the blockchain. Healthcare records are another example of blockchain technology being used because you can store them securely and share them. Digital identity is another one where you can store your identity on a blockchain, which might not sound like that big of a deal to us who live in the Western world, but if you're a refugee and you had to flee and you don't have an ID or papers or anything that says who you are, But if your identity is on the blockchain and can be verified because you have the keys to it and to prove that you are who you are, it's a huge thing. Voting systems are also another area where people are experimenting with blockchain technology to make it tamper-proof and censorship resistant. So it can't be
So that was going to be my question. That's a perfect example. I was like, so really the key value in terms of all of those examples when it comes to blockchain is that it's untamperable or it's unchanged, unchangeable. So
Think
in
of
each of
the
those
fly in amber
examples,
again.
right, fly in amber.
Yep.
So in each of
Yep.
those examples, there's probably been enough cases where health records or digital identity or
Yeah.
voting, certainly we've seen in recent years, has been or could possibly have been tampered with. So the
Yeah,
value
exactly.
here is that that can't happen. Okay, that's helpful.
Another fun one is artists and musicians putting their work on the blockchain, which is pretty cool. And I think, and you mentioned smart contracts, Caitlin, but like then a smart contract could automatically pay royalties whenever that music is used without needing a lawyer to say that this happened or a company to take a cut. So I think we've only seen a little bit of that so far, but I think we'll see more of that. We actually had our first annual Women in Crypto Summit last year, and one of my favorite speakers was Snoop Dogg's son, Cordell Brodus Jr., and he's doing a bunch of stuff in the blockchain and music space, as well as NFTs, but it was really cool to hear about how not only being able to like track your work that you own, but also as a way to like more closely engage with your fans. And so you've seen celebrities launch tokens. A lot of them have been disasters, but the technology really does enable like a closer relationship with a fan where like if you stream that person's music 10 times, you get rewarded with something. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And brands are trying to do that too.
You said NFT, and that's another buzzword around these industries. NFT being a non-fungible token. Did I get that
Correct.
right?
Yes.
The value of that, so that could be a picture or a painting or a piece of music, or it's typically creative, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be
No,
anything.
not
No.
necessarily. Crypto there's so much slang in our industry, but usually every summer it gets dubbed something summer. And there was NFT summer a couple years ago. And it was so funny because, I think it is because it's associated with art and culture. A lot of women, for the first time, that was their first exposure to crypto. And they wanted to buy an artistic NFT. So they had to go figure out how to buy some Ethereum or buy some Solana to then go buy the NFT. And I had so many girlfriends who I had been pounding the table about them investing in Bitcoin for years, call me and be like, I bought an NFT. Like, that you understand? Yeah. You understand a non-fungible token, but you couldn't grasp Bitcoin?
That's so funny.
Right.
I feel like, wasn't everyone buying those like angry monkeys or something like that? The like characterized monkey. I feel like Jimmy Fallon or Kimmel.
Oh yeah, they all
did
did. The Bored Ape Yacht Club.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. The technology is pretty amazing when you think about other things it could be applied to besides art, which is like the house, the title to your house, the title to your car. Anything that you want to prove that you own that then you might want to transfer.
Got it.
So I think that's going to be a bigger use case for that technology. But digital art and digital culture is not going away. It's just a part of humans.
Okay, so you said you pounded the table trying to get your friends, the women in your life, to buy Bitcoin. So tell us, why should women care about cryptocurrency and blockchain?
Because it's money. And money is power. And you know, blockchain technology and crypto are reshaping finance. And if women aren't part of it, the future gets built without us. We've been in crypto now for 9 years. I've watched so many men make life-changing amounts of money, and women still on the sidelines. The statistics in the U.S. are pretty abysmal. It's like less than 10% of U.S. women have invested in crypto. And not on my watch. I refuse to let this wealth creation potential pass women by. And you know, back to what we were talking about the very beginning, about how hard it is to get access to those types of investments that really can supercharge your wealth building. Crypto is open to anybody if you can figure it out. And I really want to try to help women figure it out, because when women have more money, good things happen. You know, there's this stereotype and trope of the crypto bro who goes out and buys a Lambo and parties in Vegas. And like, those are real. I have seen it. And when women make that type of life-changing money, that's not what we do. So I'm super committed to trying to get more women to invest. And I did during quarantine and COVID, when we were stuck at home, girlfriends asked me if I would do a Crypto 101 Zoom session, kind of like we're doing now. And I wasn't making sourdough bread, so I said, sure, I can talk about crypto all day. And I must have done like 12 or 15 of these. And I logged on one day, and there were 200 women on this call, like none of whom I knew. I didn't know any of them.
That's
friends
amazing.
had just told friends. And they all said the same thing, which might resonate with you guys, is like they didn't know where to start. They didn't know who to trust. And they didn't want to be mansplained it. And they didn't want to do it alone. It felt too intimidating to think about like, oh God, I'm going to go figure out crypto by myself. That just didn't sound fun, and it was intimidating. So that experience is a big part of what I'm building with my company, Eve Wealth, which is tons of education, a trusted resource. We sift through all the crap so you don't have to. If we're presenting it to you as something you should know, we have vetted it so you can trust us. And then a robust community of online forums, in-person events, webinars, AMAs, so that you can really feel like you're doing this with other cool, interesting, smart women. I'm part of a couple angel investing groups, women focused, and that's my favorite part, is getting to meet the other women and learning from their experiences. Women especially want to know everything there is to know about an investment before making an investment decision, whereas men will YOLO in without even thinking twice about it. What's interesting is that women are actually better investors once they make the decision, because they stick to their plan, they don't panic sell, they understand how long they are going to hold that investment and for what purpose they're holding it, and they're just better investors. But it takes getting over that initial hump, and I've seen this where the minute you invest a little bit of money, and so this is what I usually recommend to my friends, is invest a little bit, see how it makes you feel. If you can't stomach the volatility, because crypto is very volatile, it goes up and down and up and down and up and down. Interestingly though, in its, especially Bitcoin, in its now 14, 15-year history, every yearly low is higher than the previous year. So while it's doing this slowly going up like this.
Okay,
So
so trending, an upward trend, slow upward trend.
Yes.
That's a great stat to hear, because to your point, I think so many women, including myself, I bought crypto 5 years ago now. So that was a good buy-in then.
Well
Not
done.
a lot. Not a lot. I was working in London, and I think my salary was £28,000 a year at my consulting job. But I think I put like 100 pounds in, which was a huge, to your point, I probably put in more than I should have based on my investment. But it was a big amount for me. And to that point, it's gone up quite a lot, which is fantastic. But that risk element and the fear of losing money, and especially when we earn less already, we have a lower risk tolerance. It is scary. So I love to hear the education element of this, because we can't be left behind. And it feels like traditional finance in some ways has left us behind. And this is essentially a way for that not to happen.
Traditional finance was built by men for men. This is one of my favorite statistics, and some of the research I've done is 70% of US women fire their financial advisor within 3 months of their spouse's death. Which, like, 70%. Think about that.
How crazy,
like,
because they didn't feel heard and they weren't involved.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
totally. Yeah, we had an episode on merging finances with your partner, one of our first, and she's a female-focused wealth manager, and she said the same thing. She said, when I speak to couples in the same room, I have a very different conversation, including about risk tolerance, actually, because we spoke about like kind of the female risk tax, you know, how we inherently, yes, are risk averse. And she said it's interesting because when I explain actually what riskier stocks, for example, or investment opportunities look like, she said a lot of women are like, oh, I didn't actually mean I was averse to that. I just, yes, in theory, obviously don't want to lose my money. So it's interesting. I feel like it's a lot around language and just like our inherent emotion, more so than like inability to actually like bet big, win big, you know?
And stories we've been told by society. Women are savers. Don't buy that cup of coffee. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, we're shopaholics. And
don't have avocado toast.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Never. No one ever told a man not to eat his avocado toast.
Yeah.
One of my favorite success stories from one of these Zoom sessions was a woman who wanted to remodel her house, and she wanted to invest in Bitcoin to see if she could, make the money she needed to remodel this house. Her husband thought she was a lunatic and was vehemently opposed to it. She did it anyway, yes. And she had a specific target in mind and a goal. She also was prepared to lose the money. So it wasn't, she wasn't gonna be able to not put food on the table. And it was appropriately the right size for her other investments, which we can talk about in a minute too. But she hit her target. She made the profit she wanted. She sold. She stuck to her plan, which I see a lot of men especially being like, oh, it's going to go up. It's going to go up more. And then it crashes and they've lost because she was very regimented, disciplined. And she sent me a picture in front of her newly remodeled house with her arms in the air being like, ah, and then another picture with another hand gesture towards her husband, which was hysterical.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that. Send her this episode. Shout out to her.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. That's perfect. So if someone wants to start, we talked about why it's important and what it is, but if someone wants to start, dip their toe into crypto, they listen to Elaine, they're like, I'm empowered, I want to do this. Where do they go? How do they do it? And how much should they do? How much do they invest?
Well, obviously, I'm going to tell them to come to my website, evewealth.com, for all of the education community, and we are launching investing soon. Okay. I think yes, I'm super excited.
Congrats.
Thank you. I think it's super important to, when you think about investing in general, diversification is key. And I know you mentioned you did a podcast on venture and angel investing. 9 out of 10 angel investments fail, so you have to be diversified. I apply that same rule to crypto because this is still such nascent early technology that it's very TBD who the winners will be, with the exception of Bitcoin. I think of Bitcoin as almost a separate asset because it has pretty well established its product market fit of being like digital gold and a hedge against inflation. Everything else I think of as early stage technology. And you will find people who are like huge Solana proponents and they're huge Ethereum proponents. There are people who think Solana is going to beat Ethereum. No, Ethereum's going to win. I don't know. I would argue nobody knows. So I think it's prudent to take a diversified approach. So the way we have built our portfolios is based on your risk tolerance and time horizon. We ask you questions like a robo-advisor, so we get to know what you're comfortable with. We then recommend a model portfolio that is conservative, moderate, aggressive, in varying degrees of tokens in the top 1 to 10, top 10 to 20, et cetera. But if you're just going out on your own, I would still encourage a diversified approach because you never want to put all your eggs in one basket. So if somebody was just starting out for the very first time, what I recommend to my friends, and again, not financial advice, but what I tell my friends is go buy a little bit of Bitcoin. See how it makes you feel. And then I guarantee you the minute they buy a little bit, they're going to want to learn more. And then they will fall down the rabbit hole and learn all the other interesting things going on in crypto besides Bitcoin. And they'll read about Ethereum and understand, oh, it's like the world's app store. That's cool. Okay, maybe I'll buy a little bit of Ethereum. And then they read something about Solana is faster, cheaper than Ethereum. Or maybe they wanted to buy an NFT that was only on Solana blockchains. They had to buy some Solana. So it's organic, the way I think I've seen a lot of, at least my girlfriends, get into crypto. But again, it's very DIY. So you could download the Gemini app or the Coinbase app, and then you have to decide which of those 10,000 different tokens do you want to buy. And
how do you do that if you don't have Eve Wealth? That's why you come to Eve Wealth, is because
this is why we're doing it, because I don't have time to spend all day on crypto Twitter trying to figure out what the next hot coin is.
That makes it unapproachable.
I never want to spend time in a Discord channel, so no. And women especially don't have time to do that. But investors don't either. Like, you don't sit around and do deep dive research on what's in your 401k. Just trust that it is being done, set it and forget it. And this is another thing I say to people about crypto too, is like, do you know how your iPhone works? I have no idea. But do I own Apple stock? Of course.
Yes.
Sure.
But I would say that similar to angel investing and venture investing, 9 out of 10 projects could fail. And you might be investing, you might think you're investing in the next Google, but you invested in Ask Jeeves. So to think of it that way.
So don't invest money. I mean, inherently don't invest money that you can't afford to lose.
Correct. That is always a great rule of thumb. And we talked about this a little bit at the beginning. It's important to think about it in the broader context of your overall investment portfolio. And again, diversification is key for any portfolio. And crypto is very risky. And so it belongs in like your risk aggressive bucket. And a lot of people, the first thing they say is, well, how much should I invest in crypto? And a good rule of thumb is 1% to 5% of your overall investments. But if you are not comfortable with that, start smaller, build up. A great way to get into crypto too is dollar cost averaging, where you put a little bit, you invest a little bit at a time, slowly over time, so you're not dumping it all in one day. And again, it's a good way to get comfortable, build up your confidence, see how it makes you feel. So that's another thing I recommend.
So Eve Wealth, will it be available to Americans only?
We are Americans only to start, but definitely want to expand to Canada and Europe probably in the next year or two.
Okay, well, I'm in Canada. I'm in Toronto,
nice.
so I'm very excited. It's good to know it's US now, but if you're in another country, a lot of our friends live in the UK, you can buy it through other platforms.
Yes.
Okay.
And I would say there's a phrase we have in crypto that's like, get off zero, just go buy a little bit and see how it makes you feel. Because it's not going anywhere. Like blockchain technology and cryptocurrency is here to stay. And I really want to see women. There's this huge wealth creation potential of crypto, and I don't want women to miss out on it because, it was funny. Two of the young founders of one of the crypto companies I worked for, two young guys, and I asked them, if this company gets really big and you're super successful, what are you going to do with all your money? And without missing a beat, they said, oh, invest in our buddies' companies. The buddies look just like them.
Totally.
And so there's this continuing cycle that there are only a handful of ways to break. And I think women having massive amounts of money is one way to do that. And you can probably count on two hands the number of women who have had Zuckerberg style exits. There's not that many.
No.
And crypto offers an opportunity to at least participate in a potential wealth creation event.
We love it. And that is literally why we've done this podcast too.
I love it.
We are these things cannot pass us by. And again, because it's happened in the past, and for this next generation, it cannot happen again. And to your point, the world is so freaking crazy right now. And if more money was in the hands of women, my assumption and totally my opinion, it would be a little bit less crazy if women had more power, and money is power. So,
and we say this all the time, that the great financial crisis never would have happened if there were more women in control.
Totally. Yeah, amazing. Okay, I actually do have one question on that. So talking about cost, though, some people do say that there's cost in other ways because it has a big environmental impact because a lot of power is needed.
This is one of the myths I wish would die.
Great.
This is one of the, I forgot the first myth I wanted to make sure, I forgot that one was, you don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. You don't need to buy a whole any token. Literally, I was talking to a friend of mine who works at Goldman Sachs and has for 20 years. And I was telling her, I was like, you've got to buy Bitcoin. And she's like, I just don't have $100,000 lying around. I was like, you don't need $100,000. You can buy $5. So I want everyone to know that. That is one thing.
Okay.
Two, that it's boiling the oceans and terrible for the environment. False. And I think there are different technologies and different mechanisms for securing the network and these nodes. And this is getting really in the weeds. You can research it afterwards. But Bitcoin is proof of work. So that work is basically all those computers around the world trying to solve a very complicated cryptographic math problem, which requires energy for the computers to do those calculations. So the way Bitcoin miners make money is their only input is electricity. So the less they pay for electricity, the more money they're going to make.
Okay, Bitcoin miners. Bitcoin miners are not digging for coins. They're using powerful computers to keep the Bitcoin network running. They verify transactions and bundle them into blocks on the blockchain. Every 10 minutes, miners race to solve a complex math puzzle. The winner gets to add the next block and earns a block reward. Right now, that's 3.125 Bitcoins plus a small transaction fee. They're not paid per transaction. It's more like a global lottery that rewards them for keeping the system secure and running smoothly.
So they are highly incentivized to use alternative green energy sources or, I forget the actual phrase, it's unused, lost energy sources. So places where it's pouring rain in the middle of somewhere, but no one's going to go there, but there's hydroelectric power, but there's nowhere to send the power. Bitcoin miners can pick up and move there and use that electricity for super cheap because nobody else wants it. And you've seen there's a lot of Bitcoin mining operations set up in Texas, and they have relationships where they give energy back to the grid or don't use as much when the grid needs it more. One of my favorite companies is this company called Crusoe, Crusoe, that was harnessing the power of natural gas flares from oil wells and using that power to power Bitcoin miners. And so that's just Bitcoin. So many of the other cryptocurrencies out there are way less energy intensive and use different mechanisms for securing the network. And I think it's funny too, no, it's not funny because it is real. The AI energy needs dwarf Bitcoin energy needs. So it's almost like a moot point now. And this is what cracks me up, is like, when did energy use become something we debate whether it's good or not?
Yeah.
Like, there was some stat that like the amount of energy used to power the United States' washing machines was the same as Bitcoin. Okay, washing machines are fine, but a decentralized peer-to-peer monetary system that can help people around the world is not worthy of the same amount of energy.
Yeah.
Sure.
So if you're really stressed about it, hang your clothes to dry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so I realize now I have one more these myths that are popping up. The other one is bad people use blockchain to move money. And because it's not regulated, anyone can move their money, because you said pick up and move to the other side of the world. So I murdered 40 people and I'm going to take all my money and move to the other side of the world. What do we say to that?
So this is one of my other favorite myths. It's just for terrorists and criminals. So the Bitcoin especially, but the majority of crypto, is all transparent. So government enforcement agencies love blockchain because they can trace. It like makes tracing money laundering very easy. The transactions are all public. It's not anonymous. It's something called pseudonymous, where you can track back to the wallets and you can see every transaction that's ever happened. Like, you could go right now and download the entire Bitcoin blockchain to your computer and you can see every transaction that's ever been made. So law enforcement loves it because it's easy to track and easy to trace, and criminals don't like it because it's easy to track and easy to trace. Criminals love US dollars because you can't trace those. So yeah, the percentage of crypto used in illicit activity is something like less than 2%, and it's continued to come down. And there are some amazing companies. I'll give a shout out to a friend of mine in the space, Ari Redboard and TRM Labs, and then another company, Chainalysis. They're doing fantastic work tracking criminals using crypto because you can trace all the hops illicit funds make. And they were working with law enforcement and doing really interesting work.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so you said that it's open, transparent. So can anyone see how much money I have in my wallet and say,
No.
Caitlin Craig? Okay.
No.
So that they can't see. They can see, they see my wallet?
That's
but they
not
wouldn't
true.
know who it tied to, who it was
Correct.
tied to?
Yes, you can see the amount of Bitcoin in people's wallets because it is public. And there's a phrase in crypto called Bitcoin whales, which are like the billionaires who are sitting on tons of crypto. And the internet sleuths spend a lot of time watching the movement of those crypto whale wallets. Does that mean something's happening if they move it from cold storage, which is typically a wallet? If they move it from cold storage to an exchange, does that mean that they're going to sell? And then does that mean it's impact the price? So what a lot of people do is have multiple wallets to obscure their totals.
Interesting.
If you're not
to the point, just because I'm curious, is my wallet attributed to me, Lundie Strom, or can I have a pseudonym? Like, because isn't that a security risk if everyone knows that I'm super rich?
Yes, it is. And nobody's names are directly associated with these, and it becomes a guessing game. That's the pseudonymous part of it.
Got it. So you're guessing it's like, oh, this $50 wallet over there might be Lundie's.
Yeah.
It's a guess.
I see. There's like a code that's affiliated with my name, but it doesn't say Lundie Strom has all. Okay.
Correct. It's something called a public wallet address. So you have a public wallet address, and that's what you would share in a QR code to anyone who wanted to pay you money.
I see.
But they can't access anything in your wallet because you have a private address, a private key. So it's a public key and private key. Only you know the private key.
Okay.
But again, this is the part of being your own bank, which a lot of people don't want to do, because if you lose that private key, you have lost access to that money. You cannot get it back. And you hear
Isn't it like that guy who he had that? Yeah, he like went
the laptop.
He lost his code from his early days of Bitcoin, which now it's some crazy number. They're worth like billions and billions of dollars, his amount of Bitcoin, but he lost his code, and he's spent time sifting through. This could be also a myth, but sifting through.
This is true.
What is it? A landfill.
Landfills all over the UK, I think.
where his trash could have gone to find his. Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
a bummer. You got to let
There was
that
actually
go. You got to let that go.
there was even a that TV show, The Big Bang Theory. There was a whole episode about them thinking that they had Bitcoin left on a computer and then not being able to find it. And the whole episode was them retracing their steps from years ago to see where they might have stored it. Very funny.
So funny.
It's funny.
That's so funny. Okay.
But that's a good point at the end, though. There is something we haven't talked about is one of the features of Bitcoin is that it's finite supply. There are only ever 21 million Bitcoin will ever exist. And a lot of them have been lost. And so the fixed supply is one of the main reasons a lot of people invest in Bitcoin, especially as we continue to print more US dollars. Like, how many US dollars are there? I don't know. We keep printing them. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. And a lot of Bitcoin is lost forever. So a lot of people estimate that there's only about 18 million left. And the original Satoshi, which no one knows who it is, if it's a he, a she, or a group, nothing has moved from his wallets in years. So a lot of people think that he might have passed away. So there's a whole other chunk of Bitcoin that's not accessible.
It's like treasure hunters 2.0.
Yeah. The one last thing I would say, because we talked about this a little bit, is that why is it important for women? You know, when taking a step outside of our privileged Western world, where we take access to a financial system for granted, crypto can help so many women in third world countries or in underprivileged situations where they don't have financial freedom because any dollar they earn gets taken by their husband, by their father. They don't have access to a bank account. You know, a small store owner can accept payment in stable coins from somewhere else, and she can keep those and not have to like give them to the men in her life. And so I think about all the possibility that crypto can offer to women around the world that don't have access. And there's huge statistics about the number of people who, not just women, but the number of people who don't have access to a bank, like we call them the unbanked, but who do have access to a cell phone and the internet. So if you have access to a cell phone and the internet, you can participate in the global financial system without a bank.
It's amazing.
If I, let's say, don't have a bank account, but I have a phone and access to the internet, how do I get my money? How do I buy cryptocurrency? This could be a whole other episode. How do I do it? But how do I buy cryptocurrency without a bank account attached to?
It depends where in the world you live. You couldn't do that in the United States very easily. There are still some old school peer-to-peer where in the early days you would meet somebody on a street corner and hand them some cash and you would get a thumb drive with some Bitcoin. And so I don't actually know the answer to that around the world, but I know it's happening.
Fair.
Okay, so my last question then is, and I think we probably have covered it multiple times, but what's the one thing you want every woman to know about blockchain and crypto?
That it is not going anywhere. It is not too late, and just dip a toe in, buy a little bit, play around with it, because this is a huge wealth creation opportunity and it can't pass women by.
Hear, hear.
Love that. Get off zero.
Yeah, get off zero. Because when women have more money, good things happen.
It's true. It's true. Okay, well, thank you so much. This was incredible.
Thank you guys. This is so fun.
Honestly, I've walked away knowing so much more. I feel very excited about Eve Wealth too. The precipice for this podcast was us trying to figure out how do we get more money into the hands of women. And at one point we spoke about starting a wealth management firm, like an Elvest 2.0. Like how do you do that? And we realized it's hard. But we realized like a big thing is around community branding, education, to your point of Eve Wealth, is like knowledge, like just the knowledge of it. So that's what we're like,
Trusted
if we're going to start
resource.
somewhere, let's start with
I'll give you one resource for all of your listeners. There's a book I recommend to everybody who is just starting out and wanting to learn. It's called The Little Bitcoin Book. Non-technical. It's like 40 or 50 pages. You can read it in an hour, and it is a fantastic understanding of what Bitcoin is and that it's a new and different financial system. Highly recommend.
Amazing. We put all these resources in our comments for people, so when we talk about it, they can just quickly click in each of the episodes.
And we'll put Eve Wealth. We'll make sure to link Eve Wealth and yourself. Yeah, we'll send lots of
people can find me anywhere. I'm on LinkedIn, and my email is just elaine@ewealth.com, and I'm on X as E Asher SF. So
okay, perfect. And is Eve Wealth on Instagram too?
Yes.
Okay, great.
It's Eve Wealth HQ. Yes.
And
let us know how we can help promote you. Like women supporting women is one of my favorite things. So please let me know.
Perfect.
Here. Elaine, thank you
Amazing.
so much for your
Thank
time.
you,
We so
guys.
appreciate it.
And welcome to the Debrief, where we discuss things we needed a little more clarity on.
But sometimes it takes you a few listens before
Totally.
you really
We are
find out your
talking about
faves.
Taylor Swift's new album, which Lundie
Naturally, we were
has
talking about Life of a Showgirl. Yes. So
that
welcome
she
back.
put blocked in both of our calendars the day that it was coming out.
Happy October 3rd to all who celebrate.
Yes.
Yes. But back to blockchain. How did you think that
Blockchain.
went?
I know. And Elaine, who we're obsessed with, she is so cool.
What
She,
a
out of
queen.
all of our guests, gave us the best response by email when we emailed her
Oh my
to
gosh,
join.
yeah, like all caps was like, can't
Let's
wait,
fucking
so
go.
excited, let's fucking go. I know, and Eve Wealth exists for the same exact
cool.
reason. She's like, we cannot let another wealth generation wave pass us by.
Totally.
And we love
Which
that.
we love.
I can't wait. We forgot to ask when the investment product is launching. I don't know if it's happening soon, but honestly, I'm gonna put a little bit of money, and by a little bit of money, I mean literally probably $100 into Bitcoin and just see how it makes
Yeah.
me feel. Like she said, get off zero. Should we go into some takeaways?
Yes. One of my big ones is I think that whenever people talk about it, they're always like, I don't know how much to put in there. I don't know how much to invest. Is it something I should go big on? And I liked her guidance of 1 to 5% of investable assets. So that
Good rule of
means
thumb.
that, yeah, good rule of thumb.
It's really a small percentage, and that was one of my biggest takeaways, was that crypto is a great option for diversification, but it's still extremely risky. Many investments are, and she said it belongs in the risk aggressive bucket of your total portfolio. Another one of my big takeaways was that I thought that blockchain was the figurative technology, like the internet. There's the blockchain, but
Yeah.
incorrect. There are many, many blockchains.
That's true.
Individual
I thought
blockchains.
that too.
Yeah, and that's interesting that they're all solving different problems. So every blockchain has a different purpose, like faster, smarter, cheaper, and it just
Totally.
depends on what you prioritize. Do you want it to be more secure? Do you want it to be faster? So that was interesting. It helped me kind of
Wow.
better understand and like visualize what different cryptocurrencies are doing. Huge takeaway for me was that decentralized does not mean unregulated. I think that was probably the biggest thing. And I think a lot of people equate cryptocurrencies to this like unregulated Wild West, and that it's like this very libertarian thing where it's like down with the government, like, free markets for all. And that's just not true. Elaine better explained that decentralized means that no one entity or company or government controls it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to cut out that middleman in the middle of all these transactions and go peer to peer. Whereas unregulated, which is what I thought it was, means no regulation at all from the governments. And that's not true. And her biggest gripe was that the laws are just first of all, it's so new. We're really trying to adhere to whatever it is, but like no one's telling us what to do. And so that's frustrating. I get that.
Yeah. I think building on that for me was hearing more from her about the different use cases for the technology, because it does seem, and we joked about it, and I still have this image. And I have this image because Lundie and I went to Dubai a bunch of times for work a year or two ago, and the crypto and blockchain scene is really big there. She mentioned the Middle East. And literally, we saw the dudes in their Lambos driving around and like living la vida loca,
Totally.
and they were all crypto bros. And so,
Totally.
in my mind, that's what I equate the industry to. But then talking to her about all the things that it can do, providing identity to people, the undocumented, if they're refugees, like there's all these elements that you can use the technology for, because it can only be recorded once. Therefore, this has to be tied to a specific person. That for me was very interesting, and I would love to just dig into that a little bit more and understand who's using it and how.
Yeah, it's just illustrative of the value of the blockchain technology outside of even crypto, even if crypto is not your thing and you don't care to get into it. But my real takeaway is that it's just another way to diversify your wealth. And that it's not going anywhere. That's another thing. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm walking away being like, actually, it's here to stay. It's just very new. And she also said no one's an actual expert. I mean, she seemed pretty close, but she said no one's an actual expert on crypto. It's so new and people are still just trying to figure it out.
Honestly, only a woman would say that.
Yeah, that's so true, honestly. And to that point, I think the biggest takeaway and what I love, why I love what she's doing.
We do need to record every time you say, and to that point.
No, I know. Now that we've said it, everyone's going to notice. There's going to be an end of season compilation. Also, there will be a compilation of how many times I looked confused in this episode. If anyone was watching this episode, there's so many times where I'm like, and you could just see the wheels are turning where I'm like, I don't know. But I think by the end, I think we got there eventually.
My last one was that you also don't need to know everything. We don't know. I don't know how gold is mined, but I still would put gold in my portfolio. So, how does Visa and MasterCard work? Who's to say? So
it's true.
It's important to have the education to understand the high level, which I feel like this conversation for me did that. But I don't think and she said, in general, people need to know every single thing about how every detail it works before you make that initial investment. So do your baseline research, listen to the episode, do what you need to do, but you don't need to be an expert in crypto to invest in crypto.
Yeah, it's a great one. And then get off zero. She inspired me to get off zero. Maybe we'll think ourselves in another, she said that she invested in 2013. I wonder how much money she made.
I know. Jealous.
I know.
Wait, let's Google it right now, what it was in 2013.
Say if you invested, let's say $5,000 in Bitcoin.
You invested
$5,000 Sorry, Elaine.
dollars in Bitcoin in 2013. How much would it be worth now? That's pretty good. It would be worth 120,000 USD. Oh wait, no, that's wrong. Sorry. It would be worth $800,000. Oh my God, Elaine, you're amazing. I am so happy for you.
I hope that's pretty crazy. See? See? Don't let it pass you by.
Yeah, I know. Wow. Honestly, good for you. And this is the point,
Elaine.
Women need more wealth. People like Elaine should be the ones holding this wealth because they're making amazing decisions. She's starting a business to educate more women on finance and get more money in the hands of women. So I'm so happy for you, Elaine. This is what we're looking for.
Me too. I can't wait to join you both. I will follow up in the description with when the investment product is launching. Yes. But otherwise, find it where you got it, where you can, where you live.
Find it where you mine it.
Find it where you got it, where you get it, where you live. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
See you next week. Knowledge is power. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go.
Coming next week, we're chatting with licensed mental health counselor and certified EMDR therapist Christina Spurlock and asking, what the fuck is therapy? We talk about Lundie growing up with a mom who's a therapist and what ketamine-assisted therapy actually means. Christina explains EMDR therapy versus talk therapy and why ChatGPT as a therapist cannot always give you the best answer. If you've heard the word triggered, boundaries, or narcissist tossed around and aren't sure what's real, this episode cuts through that noise. Join us next Tuesday and we'll ask what the fuck is therapy together.